Welcome back to Sprague Homestead. I'm Kanan.
I'm Nikki.
This week we're going to cover 8 fall homestead items everyone should be doing right now.
So now that we're into September, fall is still officially about 3 weeks away, but it's never too early to get started on your fall work list. So we're going to go over these 8 things that we do that we feel are pretty universal, right?
Yep.
So kick us off, Kanan. What's the first thing you should be doing?
Well, you guys have seen us do a lot of gardening over the years if you've watched our channel, and every fall we have to put away and preserve all of our garden goodies.
I know for some people that gets to get started in like June. We're just putting our garden in June. But September and October is a good time to be wrapping up those gardens, or at least getting ready for the later fall crops. So now is that time to be canning a lot of your tomatoes and dehydrating your later fall, chards and kale and stuff that is now starting to come up. So break out those canning jars or fire up that dehydrator and start wrapping up those summer garden veggies.
Item 2 on the list is going to be finishing up or finishing out and harvesting your meat animals for the winter.
Now, a lot of people don't do this until closer to October, November, but now is the time to definitely be starting it. We've mentioned this on a video here recently that it was really time to start evaluating your herds with as high as feed prices are. So we have actually kind of been calling all year. We've still got some meat birds left. We did some older hens and roos this last week. We've still got quail to do, and we might actually be doing our first goats this year. So be thinking about that. Be starting on it, especially if you're culling out some older birds. Don't wait till the last minute. This is what gets us every year is we try and go later in the fall, and inevitably either we get a super cold snap or the snow starts flying. And if you've never stood outside and butchered in 30-degree weather, let me tell you, it is miserable. But, we're homesteaders, right? We do what we got to do. So now is the time to be starting on some of that if you've got time, space, and the resources to do so.
Item 3 on our list is going to be repairing any fences or gates. It's pretty easy to just walk your fence line, double check that everything is tight, connected, and it's still there. Sometimes goats break through, horses, cows, they can all bust through a fence and or a gate. They could break the lock off of a gate pretty easy, and you don't want to figure that out somewhere down in the winter when all your animals have run loose.
Well, and really you ought to be checking your fences twice a year, right? Before winter and after winter, because a lot of things can happen during the winter. Tree limbs can come down, that kind of stuff. But let me tell you, trying to manage a broken gate in 2 feet of snow will make you madder than, well, that's
mad.
Probably not an appropriate thing to say. It'll make you mad. It'll make you really, really upset. So now is the time to do that kind of stuff where, it's still fairly dry out. If you've got to rehang gates, restaple fences, or even restretch fences. We're still putting up some fencing that we put posts in for this spring and just didn't get to the wire. We can do that right now. We can't get a post in to save our lives because the ground's so hard, but we can at least get the wire up. Now's a great time to do that. Check it off the old list, and it'll be ready to go for the winter.
Next item on our list is stocking up on our winter fuels. Now for us, that means we need to get our firewood bins full. We've already had our propane topped off for the fall, kind of summer fallish there. But for those that are worried about heating costs and etc., get on it now. Get those winter fuels stocked up and ready to go.
That also includes making sure we've got diesel for the generator, because that is our backup when the solar doesn't work. And just make sure that you've got all that stuff. Start figuring out exactly what you think you're going to need. And now is the time to do it, not when the power goes out or it's 20 degrees out.
In addition to that, we are going to throw on the next list is to get your heaters ready. Now, if you use like firewood for us, I need to get our fireplace and our chimney cleaned out, ready to go. But if you're using heaters with propane or something else, you may not have even touched them for months during the summer, but now's the time to give them a check over, make sure all your lines are good. Give them a test fire, make sure they do work, burn off any dust, etc. Get them ready to go, because the last thing you want to find out on a cold morning is that your heater doesn't work and, well, you need an extra blanket.
Yeah, our backup propane heater has just a AA battery for the igniter, and the igniter is going out a little bit. So I'm sure it's not the igniter so much as we just need a new battery. So I need to make sure we'll probably vacuum that thing out and make sure it's all cleaned off, and probably fire it up in the next 2 weeks just to make sure that everything is working the way that it should.
All right, so jumping back to gardening real quick, item 6 on our list is to ready your perennial garden beds.
So this is the normal stuff of just making sure that those beds are as weeded free as you can get them before the winter, and applying whatever mulch, fertilizer, or what have you that is appropriate. So for me, I've got asparagus beds. I will have my rhubarb beds and my berry plants. Pretty much that's the big stuff for us. And my Jerusalem artichoke beds once we've harvested some of what I'm going to use there. Just make sure that they're in good shape, and that way you've got a little less to worry about come spring, and it'll make sure those plants make it through the winter all right, especially if you're in a cold environment like ours.
Number 7 on our list is going to be to inventory our cold and wet weather gear. You know, lately, because everything on the supply chain is so weird, they've actually had out their cold, wet weather gear. And because they have so much of it from last year that didn't get delivered on time, a lot of it's on clearance. So go now, stock up on your cold and wet weather gear if you need it, and make sure the stuff you have actually is still functional. You didn't get, a moth or something and ate your favorite winter coat or a pack rat or anything else. You never know. It can happen. And the last thing you want to do is find out on that cold day your wet weather gear is not ready to go.
And sometimes you'll get, first part of the season deal. So as soon as, at least some of our farm stores in the past, as soon as the Carhartt and Key and all the big winter stuff shipments come in, sometimes they'll put on a really good sale that first couple of shipments. That's the time to make sure that, hey, if I need it, if I'm in the store, that's what I'm going to grab while I can. Because a lot of times those things go pretty fast. Like this year, I need new insulated overalls.
Yep.
Mine are literally split from crotch to ankle on both sides. I've been using them like 7 years though, so.
We got our money's worth.
Yeah, and you probably need new winter boots.
I do.
So get that list started now, and then, you can pick at it as you go. You can prioritize what needs to be done, and then it's not quite so overwhelming.
Next on our list, item number 8 is mechanical tune-ups. Now, if you're a car guy like me, you know that you're probably going to put away your car unless you're in Florida. You guys get to drive year-round pretty much. But a lot of us have to put away our toys for the winter. Oil changes, rotation of the tires, etc. But now's the time to add in the list of fixing up your stuff for winter. So if you need a blower for snow, you need a generator for power, now is the time to get your oil changes done. Make sure everything is functioned, it's all greased, ready to go, because you don't want to do that in the cold when you desperately need it.
We're also going to include making sure that you have tire chains if you need them, and making sure your tires are in good shape. We know a nice woman who lives up on Bly Mountain, which is not too far from us, that could not get out of her driveway this last year. And part of that was the fact that her tires were so bald, she could not get any grip on the snow and ice, and disc flat was stuck at home for over a month.
Now, I will say with tire chains, if you have them, make sure you know how to use them. It's pretty easy to buy them, tuck them away, and then when you need to use them, try to figure out and fumble with the directions in some big gloves and your big suit. It's not a time to figure out. You really have no idea how to put tire chains on. Do it in the dry, because it really stinks in the wet trying to figure it out. All right, so there's our 8 fall items you should be doing on the homestead right now to get ready for winter. If you have more items that you'd like to add to that list, or you want to change out some other ones, drop them down in the comments below.
And September is preparedness month, so some of this goes right hand in hand with that. We will have another video out talking about preparedness, but this is just stuff to get you ready for those cold winter months. Because even if you're in Florida, your cold may not be what our cold is, but it's still cold to you.
Exactly. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time here at Sprague River Homestead.
Happy homesteading!